Hey there, and welcome back to another Miraculous Ladybug Season 2 Retrospective review, where I go through old episodes of Miraculous I never made reviews for and I give my thoughts. Today we're looking at the episode Gorizilla, or as it's called on Netflix, for some reason, The Gorilla. I don't know why. It completely destroys the Godzilla pun that they made with the original title. Not sure what they were thinking with that trash. But that's the preamble. Let's jump into the episode. The episode begins in one of the funniest and also saddest moments of the season up to this point. Adrien hesitantly walks into his dad's workroom to ask him whether he could have a moment of his time, as he has something he wants to talk about rather urgently. Gabe instantly agrees, which sets up the punchline. Because as Adrien's looking all happy to finally get some time with his dad, he's told that Natalie can book him in for an appointment. It is so ridiculous and sad. Later seasons really hone in on this idea that Gabe has been distant for most of Adrien's life because he was so determined to find a cure for Emily. And then once she died, it was just to find a way to bring her back with a miraculous wish. Here though, he's not even doing anything like that. He's just doing work. He just doesn't give a shit about his kid. I'm thinking that instead of creating a senti child, maybe they should have just bought some cats instead. That fits more with Gabe's lifestyle. When Adrien's getting to leave, all downcast, Gabe somehow from across the room is able to hone in on this ring on Adrien's finger and decides that it looks very suspicious. So he does a bit of comparing and he decides that this is Cat Noir's ring. I think another good giveaway would be the fact that Cat Noir has the same features as his son, as was acknowledged in Frightening Gale. Although this is actually a non-smooth-brained moment from Gabe. If only the power of the plot didn't protect Adrien here. Because I feel like it should have been very, very easy from this point for Gabe to figure things out. He goes to Adrien's room ready to confront him, only to find that Adrien's escaped out the window. This should already have been confirmation. The kid jumped out of a second-story window that doesn't seem to have a balcony, which feels like something a normal person would not be risking. Also, a guy like Gabe would surely have CCTV all around his house. In reality, if your son had just run away, you would check this and see footage of Cat Noir jumping out the window and realize, oh shit, there you go. Yeah. And that would be all she wrote. Instead, Gabe rages at Gorilla and Natalie and tells them to find Adrien or else. Okay, so are we all in agreement that Natalie's role was clearly expanded over time? This was not the original intention? Because there's no chance that modern Natalie would be portrayed as a bumbling assistant who gets yelled at like this. Hell, was it season 1 or earlier this season where she actually forgets Adrien's birthday? That would never happen. They definitely shifted things to make her into more of a central figure in this family over time. I mean, it was the right decision. It's just wild to see how she used to be portrayed and the dynamics that were at play in these early days. We then briefly check in with Marinette to remind the audience that this girl is kind of cringe and creepy, rewatching these new fragrance commercial again and again in order to hear Adrien's name being spoken and to see the zoom in on his face. However, this episode makes it clear it's not just Marinette who's this way. It seems to be everybody in Paris. This is where we get the debut of Wayhem. Man, I forgot what a freak this guy is. Adrien sneaking down the street, trying to avoid attention, probably should have worn a disguise, and this dude comes up to him, acting like a weirdo, and talking to him even as Adrien tries to walk away. He then grabs him without permission and takes a selfie, again without permission, and uploads it against Adrien's will, which alerts Gorilla to Adrien's location. Adrien once again tries to walk away from this guy, only for him to follow him and beg for autographs on his cologne bottle and his life-size cutout. Does he just carry that around? Where did he pull it out from? Can't imagine anybody having a life-size cutout of you and expecting you to be chill with that. Being a celebrity must suck. Although it is crazy to me that he is this famous and it's only for doing short ads for his dad's fashion brand. He then tries to run away and Wayhem chases him, and this in turn attracts a horde of other crazy fans. We're talking an army of people on foot, including a person pushing their baby in a pram, glad they've got their priorities straight, as well as a person on a Vespa speeding along, a police helicopter, and a fire engine with a siren blaring as if they're responding to a call. Very responsible. So maybe Marinette is not an outlier in this version of Paris. Being an Adrien stan must do something to your brain. Marinette then gets a call from Alia asking where she was, as they were supposed to go swimming, and so Marinette grabs her bag and runs off to meet her, only to forget to change out of her pajamas. This is of course where she runs into Adrien, who begs her to let him crash at her house, only for the fans to find them once again. See, this is why he needs the bodyguard. Good golly, these people are insane. Can't believe the writers had him become friends with Wayhem after all of this. Marinette leads him to the park where they hide in an empty fountain, where they're then photographed by some random park employee who for some reason has the flash on his phone camera on when they're outside in broad daylight. This alerts everybody to what's going on and causes them to have to do a runner again to avoid the crowd. They hide in the metro, where on the platform across from them, a new horde of fans notices and takes more photos. Before that, we also had a cute scene where Adrien reveals he's still got that lucky charm that Marinette gave him, and yeah, the more I watch, the more I realize that he definitely had feelings for her from the early days of the show. He's just in extreme denial and puts Ladybug on a pedestal. And I'd say that's probably because being a hero and being with Ladybug seems to be a form of escapism for this poor kid. Anyway, the fans find him, and so does Gorilla. He and Marinette are penned in. On one side they have Wayhem the Weird and the Fellowship of the Cringe. On the other side they have Gorilla, who's looking pretty pissed off that he's had to chase Adrien all around town. I too would be angry. Adrien grabs Marinette and dives onto the train just as the doors close and it leaves the station, leaving Gorilla and the fans all alone. Wayhem steals Gorilla's phone and calls Adrien, but since Gabe has the phone because he was playing music on the piano, it gets through to him instead and he threatens them all with arrest. Good! They need it! If this was my son, I would be akumatizing myself like he did in Collector, just to hunt these people down and teach them a lesson. Hell, a lot of them are full-grown adults chasing this boy. They all catch the next train to continue their stalking, whilst Gabe gets ready to akumatize Gorilla. Man, I feel bad for this poor guy. He's had to chase Adrien all over Paris, he's been mobbed by crazy fans, he gets a parking ticket followed by a huge number of other tickets that probably add up to thousands of euros he'll need to pay. Plus he gets a call from Gabe who yells at him and calls him stupid. All of this combines to get him akumatized into Gorizilla, a huge gorilla with a powerful sense of smell. Since Adrien dropped Marinette's lucky charm, he can use that to track them down. Meanwhile, Adrien and Marinette, in disguises, have made their way into a cinema where the only session of Solitude, a very rare movie starring Adrien's mum Emily, is set to play. So it's a very heartfelt moment for Adrien, and for Marinette, who's getting to share this with him. Probably the first time he's going to see his mum properly since she disappeared, as they love to say in this show. Of course, he takes off the helmet. Some random dude has to ruin it by taking his photo, which allows the horde of fans to track him down. Good thing Gorilla rips off the roof of the building and snatches him away. When the fans try to throw things, he goes to give him the good old Donkey Kong Mega Punch, and that would surely kill them. Oh, Gorilla. How can one man be so based? Hawkmoth orders him to take Adrien and hold on to him until Ladybug and Cat Noir come to fight, obviously with the intention of figuring out if Adrien is indeed Cat Noir. If Cat Noir never turns up or transforms in public, then you'll have your answer. Meanwhile, Wayhem is ready to throw down for Adrien, and Marinette secretly transforms into Ladybug, whilst Gorizilla King Kongs his way to the top of the skyscraper. Wayhem and Ladybug both make their way to battle him, with Gabe rubbing his hands together because he is certain that Adrien is going to transform to save himself and help Ladybug fight. Ladybug and Gorizilla fight, and she tries to pry Adrien away, but Gorizilla's way too strong. We actually have a really cool action sequence here, which is rare for Season 2 when the animation was just a little bit more, scruffy, I think would be a good word. Ladybug uses her lucky charm and gets a toy helicopter, and instead of focusing up and going someplace safe to set it up, she gets it out of the box and then is instantly grabbed by Gorizilla because she wasn't paying attention. I actually thought this was really clever. So often you just see the hero have all the time in the world whilst the villain sits on their ass doing nothing. Not today though. Episode keeps getting funnier, as whilst he has his hands full with Adrien and Ladybug, he still wants to get her Miraculous, and he keeps bumping his hands together trying to figure out how to get them off. Even if Adrien wasn't here by the way and he had a free hand, how would he do this? Look at the size of his fingers. I don't think they'd have the precision that you'd need to actually grab the Miraculouses at all. He'd just end up crushing her skull. That would be a sad ending. She manages to be able to move her hand on the remote control and displays some truly incredible drone skills here. Flying the helicopter around, getting it up the dude's nose and then out of the other nostril. Oh my god, that would hurt like hell. Then she smashes it into his exposed eyeballs. Not once, not twice, but thrice. Ooh. He then drops Ladybug and she goes down through the building in yet another cool action sequence. I tell you what, this episode is cooking with the action. She manages to pry Gorizilla's thumb away using her yo-yo string and tells Adrien to jump because it's all good, she'll catch him. Except whoopsie, she doesn't catch him because after he jumps, she gets grabbed. Now everybody's panicking. Ladybug, Wayhem, and of course Gabe, who's begging his son to transform to save himself. He of course doesn't because he is absolutely insane, and so Hawkmoth loses this game of chicken and tells Gorizilla to let go of Ladybug, who then saves Adrien in the most Spider-Man-esque sequence the show has ever seen. In the heat of the moment, Adrien almost slips up and calls Ladybug Milady, which would have been a pretty funny time to reveal things to be honest, but Wayhem swoops in and distracts the attention with his true aura of cringe. Ladybug takes Adrien to safety, telling everybody to run. However, as Gorizilla climbs down to follow them, he's interrupted by Wayhem, who recites the branding for the Adrien fragrance and blasts Gorizilla in the face. Tell you what, that bottle has a strong nozzle. Has a spray radius big enough to nearly blind King Kong. What the hell would it do to a normal person? Knock him out from the fumes? Jeez. Regardless, Wayhem gets dropped on his ass, onto the concrete from a great height, and he bounces. Ouch. And Gorizilla's just going through the wars, isn't he? Poor bugger. Now his eyes are all red and inflamed from the cologne to the face. He doesn't deserve this. In the meantime, Ladybug and Adrien have cooked up a plan, but it requires Cat Noir, and it also needs Adrien to act as bait. Here is where Wayhem finally justifies his continued existence, both drawing Gorizilla with his obsessive screams when he sees Adrien, and by posing as the man in question, which allows the real Adrien to become Cat Noir. This scheme also ensures that Gabe is no longer on the trail, and thinks that the ring similarities are just a coincidence. So the plan is for Cat Noir to cataclysm the big fella into the metro, which gets him stuck, allowing Ladybug to steal the charm, de-akumatize him, and fix things. You know how it goes by this point. In the end, for his bravery, and for apologizing for being a massive creep, Adrien gives Wayhem his email address, with the promise that they will be good friends if he can stop being a weirdo, which... Adrien has no self-preservation instincts, does he? Marinette prepares to finally head to the pool to hang out with her friends, and then in a wholesome scene, Gabe sits down to watch Solitude with Adrien. And that was cute. It's a shame that he gaslights Adrien here though. Why didn't you just ask me to watch the movie? I'm so easy to talk to, you gotta trust me and let me in, no more lies. Come on. Anyway, a really good episode. This is an all-time classic, to be honest, and it's one of the best from the old school Monster of the Week era. Anyway, with all that being said, that's the end of the episode, and these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of this episode? Did you like it? Hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.